I feel like as black people, we do victimize ourselves a lot. I see it in our community, and I used to be one of those black people who were like, I really like almost had this hatred for white people because that's what all they were showing me until I actually went out and I started to go places and I started to see interacting with white people, and I was seeing how not every white person was bad, and it was shocking me how they were so nice. And so basically I just want to say slavery, that is a very sensitive topic. However, my personal opinion is that we're in 2024 and it's a new time. And I'm not saying forget about it, but I just feel like we as black people shouldn't just sit around and mope about it all day. Every time I get on another social media platform, all they talk about is slavery, and I understand that is very important. It's a very sensitive topic, and I don't want to be desensitive to it, like insensitive to it. But I understand it. However, I just feel like it's more to us as a black community.
Yes.
Like in schools, all they teach us is we are known as are the people who were oppressed. I feel like we are a very creative people. We are very fun. We play a very key role in the making of America today, in society today. And I just feel like we are more than just slavery. We are more than just the people who were killed. We are more than just a people who were once illiterate. And a lot of people can argue about black rights, but I definitely feel like it went downhill once we decided to dwell in civil rights, because I feel like they only do what, in some sense, to an extent, they can only do what we allow.
100%.
How we had schools, but we chose to mope around and cry about them not letting us into their schools. It's like we have to make it like you said, we have to use the cards that we have and play the cards that we're dealt. I just feel like constantly staying stuck in this victim mindset that every white person is out to get us. I just feel like it's very.
We agree. It's interesting because I would imagine that every single person standing here would agree with you, right? I mean, I don't know how trying to get black people exposure as being greater than just this victim mentality, how is that bad? We know about the martyrs, but we don't know about the successful black people that have done so many great things in America. Like the automatic transmission in a motor vehicle today, a black man made it. The stoplight, a black man. Black people have invented so many things. We don't know who invented what, but we know who the last one that got killed by a police officer. George Floyd got so much coverage, which I think what happened to him was wrong. But my God, they made a statue out of the guy. But they won't even talk about Ben Carson. Most people don't even know who Ben Carson. I mean, I won't say most. I hope that most people know who Ben Carson is.
I don't even know who that is.
Raise your hand if you know who Ben Carson is. Oh my God, that's insane. You guys don't know who Ben Carson is right here? Y'all know who Ben Carson is? He ran for president. He is one of the greatest black men to ever live. And it's crazy that we know George Floyd, but we don't know Ben Carson. It's, Ben Carson, a neurosurgeon, he the first person in world history to separate conjoined twins at the head. Nobody in the world has ever done that. Ben Carson was the first. He's one of the greatest men that lived. He's brilliant. He came from humble beginnings. His mama was poor. His mama couldn't read. That guy had an incredible story, and we should know him more than we know these other people.
And I feel like
it does. So you know who he is. Good. Good.
And I just feel like, as a society, we should magnify black success more than we talk about black oppression. And, I feel like we as a people, I feel like there's a spiritual warfare on a human race, not just black people, because we're not the only people in time who's ever been oppressed. There's other races that has been through things too. It's just that we magnify ours more and we, kind of dwell in that a little more. I just feel like all in all.
You have a question in there? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I really just want to say something because I just feel like it's kind of crazy to, I just feel like division is stupid.
Right, and let me tell you this. When people say, is America racist? I don't think systemically America is racist. I think that there's people that are unsuspected actors that are racist against black people, and they are our friends, our allies.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. If you loved black people, what would politicians do? Not give you a handout. They'll go down and look at that school and say, why is this school failing?
Yeah.
Let's get people an adequate education so they
Yeah.
can perform. And they don't want to do that. They want you to be ignorant.
Yeah.
They want you to have poor schools. They want crime to be rampant in your community. They put abortion clinics on every corner. They got a liquor store on every corner. They put drugs in the community because they know people are gonna sell it to each other. All of this. And what do? We call them our ally.
And they just
Let me say this one thing. If a person tells you that that white supremacy or white privilege is a thing, that person is lying to you.
Yeah.
They hate you and they want you to always feel inferior to white people.
Yeah.
There is nothing. Hold on, wait a minute. Be respectful to the young lady here. If you got a question, you can go next. Okay, just be respectful to the young lady. So, if they really was honest, they would encourage young black people to feel and believe that they're just as good as anybody else.
Right.
Not tell you that some white person somewhere is better than you.
Yeah.
I mean, white people poor too.
Yeah.
And you guys who are at this university, especially speaking to the black people, what a white person on campus can do that you can't do.
Yeah.
You go to the same classes, you have the same teachers, you have the same books, you have the same 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And many black people at this university, hopefully I'm talking to a few of them, that you will make straight A's at this school.
Right.
And you will have a great education. And you will pick a major that's going to be a great investment for your future. And you're going to go on in this country and you're going to dominate.
Right.
You're going to be great. You're going to raise a family. You're going to do all those things because nobody can stop you.
Yeah.
That should be the message.
I agree.
But instead, that's not the message.
Yes, I agree with that. Just one thing, I do feel like because we're black, we do have we have a lot more challenges than, but I do feel like we all do have the same opportunities like as white people, but I feel like, well, times are very different now. I mean, and I feel like a lot of black people are speaking from a more they're speaking from a past, and it's like America has changed a lot today.
Right.
In some ways, I feel like that's not as significant, but I do feel like in some areas, in some instances, black people do have a little more obstacles
and
than black people.
I agree with you, and everybody has obstacles.
Yeah.
We can't feel like we're just uniquely situated where we just have more issues than anybody else. Man, everybody got problems.
Yeah.
When I was a cop and I patrolled the poor white neighborhoods, they had the same issues that I remember growing up and experiencing. Just the only difference was they didn't have gangs.
Yeah.
It wasn't no gangs, but poor, ain't got no daddy, ain't got nothing to eat, on food stamps, terrible schools, getting judged at the stores. I mean, you get a guy coming in with sores on his scratching his neck, man, the store owner like, this is a crackhead, it's a meth head. And they get discriminated against too in some cases. One thing that I think that people should be talking about is classism. Racism is less of an issue in America than classism. If you are Tariq Hill, you can drive I don't know how many miles per hour and play the victim. Tariq Hill's rich. He can pay a ticket like it's nothing.
Yeah.
If you P. Diddy. Speaking of P. Diddy, how does man go this long doing all that dirt and all of a sudden he get caught I don't know how many decades later? Yeah. I mean, when you got money, you at a different level. I don't care what color you are.
Right.
You can afford a lawyer. So if you poor, white, black, or different, you get in trouble with the law, you get a public defender. And that same public defender suck for a black person and white person the same. I'm not saying all of them suck, but they're not equipped like if you had to pay for a person to defend you.
Right.
That's a poor thing. Rich people get away with doing stuff all the time.
Right.
They get away with these white collar crimes and all this stuff because they got the money to deal with it. Cool.
My question is, so you know how in Thomas Sowell he wrote this book called Discriminations and Disparities, and he talks about personal motivations and how some people have grown up raised in whatever victimhood they have experienced, whether that's been single motherhood or fatherlessness, homelessness, whatever, and they're grown basically up in that environment, and then they don't have the personal motivations, or they don't think or see themselves as being lawyers or doctors or president or anything like that. They just see NBA players, rappers, things like that. And we see that the left has put so much money and time and effort into reparations and critical race theory and stuff like that, how are they able to manipulate the situation when the outcomes are very much outweighing and having negative consequences? How are they so able to freely manipulate that situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. What they're doing is they're weaponizing our struggle to sell us a lie. Instead of saying, we know that America have unduly put black people through a certain struggle, let us empower you to empower yourself, not sit here and let us hand you something. And that's what they've been doing over the last several years. They don't fix the schools. They just let you in a university with affirmative action. It's like, no, fix the schools so the kids are qualified and they're competitive. You don't go to the end of the line to try to fix something. You go to the root of it. Young black people, like when I was growing up, I never thought about being a doctor. I didn't know a doctor. I knew a whole bunch of dudes playing college football. I knew a whole bunch of dudes rapping. I wanted to be like, Tupac was my favorite rapper. Me and my cousins, when we were young, we used to try to battle rap each other to beat Bone Thugs. Well, y'all probably too young to know Bone Thugs and Harmony and all them. But we used to battle rap to beat Bone Thugs and Harmony. We just didn't have the vision. And it's unfortunate that just gets perpetuated and celebrated time and time again. I understand why it happens, because it's easier to be successful playing sports than it is in academics to a certain degree, right? Yeah. You come from a crappy school. I went to Dunbar High School, which I love my school, but it's in the hood, man, and we didn't have resources like that. Yeah. Some people did very well academically. I didn't. I went to university and got a degree for free by playing sports. But what we have to understand and what needs to be preached is that there's life outside of just this glam of athletics and entertainment. We need to start finding other people to look up to than just LeBron. Like the young lady, and then I don't think she was black enough, but she didn't know who Ben Carson was. But if I asked her who Beyonce was, she'll tell me. And Ben Carson is far greater of an impact in American history than Beyonce could ever have. She makes music. Ben Carson is one of the most brilliant men to ever live out of any race of anybody. So I think that they've been playing us with the emotionalism and weaponizing our pain. Because black people, I remember when I was in college and I took Africana Studies, my first class we learned about lynching. I was so mad I was so mad at white people when I saw that I used to walk through campus and I would walk straight and I'd be like, let a white person bump into me. I had this anger and hatred that I had when I saw how they did these black people. So the question from that point is that, do you go with hatred, or do you understand what has happened and you want to be better? And you understand that me and you and none of these people have nothing to do with slavery. We have nothing to do with it. That stuff was a long time ago. To me, slavery doesn't affect us today. Only in understanding how it happened and not repeating it, but it don't affect us today. There's nothing stopping me from being on a university full of white people. How am I any different than a white person? Let me tell you this. I want to say this. When people say that black people had a disadvantage in America, and they explore this idea or they exacerbate this idea of white privilege, they're essentially saying black people aren't better or aren't the same as white people. They're saying that black people are less than white people. Because right now, every black person on this campus should understand that there's nothing that a white person can do that you can't do. And if you don't feel that way, you've been tricked. I went to a university in New Jersey. Look at this woman still talking. Can you be respectful? Why don't you come to the mic? You're disrespecting another sister. All you're doing is disrespecting everybody that's coming to the mic. Let me move on. Because you're drawing attention to you. You're in my ear. Really, this is the attention you want? I don't think nothing. I just want you to stop or come to the mic. It's just simple, man. See, this is the difference. You can't have a mentality like this. This is how people fail in life, to a certain degree. You gotta have decorum, even if you disagree with somebody. You gotta have a level of decorum. But anyway, let me move on to the next question. You have a next question?
That's basically it. But
okay.
Yeah, especially, I think that people take it because every single ethnicity in America has had a history of coming into the United States. You know, like the Italians came and they were discriminated against. Irish people came, they were discriminated against. I think that black people's integration into society was more recent in years as far as segregation goes. I know we were slaves and stuff like that, but when they were supposed to be accepted as people, it was entirely different as opposed to that. But it's just crazy.
No, I think I agree. You made a really good point, and I think that everybody should understand this. She had made mention that the integration of black people is much different, right? If you look at the Hispanic people that have come into this country, the integration is different. They come through immigration, or they illegally come into this country, whichever way they do it. They didn't have to go through slavery, Jim Crow, and all the other stuff. So that's a valiant point, that black people did have a challenging position to be integrated into America. Is much difficult. But I think through the adversity and difficulty, black people have become much better than they would have if it was no adversity. And if you take advantage of it, you will be great. And there's nobody has done anything great without adversity. Nobody. And I feel like black people that are successful have taken adversity and they've maximized. They've taken that idea of saying, well, you can't come into this restaurant, to saying, you know what, I'm gonna open my own restaurant and I'm gonna change this thing. My dad, that's why having a father is important. My dad, I remember he was on a fire department. He started when he was 19. My dad is almost, let's see what my dad, almost 60. Started when he was 19. He said there was discrimination on the fire department when he first started. Like some white guys and then black guys, they didn't really get along. What did my dad do? Did he tuck his tail between his legs? Did he go cry and want to get Al Sharpton to get involved? My dad said, you know what? They better watch how they treat me, because one day they'll be working for me. My dad became the chief, Fort Worth, Texas. He was a battalion chief in Fort Worth, Texas, retired. Chief of Waco, retired. Chief of Keller, Texas. And he's going to retire from there. You don't need to allow adversity to make you crumble like a coward. You take adversity and you maximize, and you become great because of it. I came from Fort Worth, Texas, Dunbar High School, and Stop 6 in the hood. I didn't let that dictate who I would become. I said, you know what, I see people selling drugs. I'm gonna give you an example. We used to have this car wash, and you get your car washed for like $5. Them crackheads, I don't know how they end up putting coins in there or whatever. They'll wash your car $5. One day I went to the car wash, get my car wash, and I saw a brother smoking crack behind that car wash, and it hurt me. I said, why am I giving money to see my brother smoke crack on the back of this thing just to get my car washed? That changed how I saw my own community. And I said, I want to make a difference. I'm gonna become a police officer because I want to make a difference in policing. I want to go to university and get an education because most people in my family have never been to a university. I took adversity and I said, let me take this adversity and use it as fuel to make me become the greatest man that I can be. And if everybody does that and are consistent, they will maximize what God has for them. Not everybody gonna be rich. Not everybody gonna be Elon Musk. That's not your goal. Your goal is to play the cards that God has put in your hand. And that goal may be being a good mom. That goal may be being a straight A student, graduating cum laude, summa cum laude. That may be just being a good person to other people and changing people's lives. Like, we have to understand that. It's not a failure if you're not rich and you don't get to this pinnacle of what people lie to you about as the American dream. It's about maximizing who you are and getting to the peak of what you can become.